Hey Jackson, how you doing?
I'm very well. How you doing, boss?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on the pod. I really appreciate that. Really nice to
Abs-
meet you. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
thank you. Right, so let's just jump straight to it. So I'm just going to ask you, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you about your career and your personal background. And then, because I'm really interested in your politics, I want to jump into that because apparently there's been a shift in the way you vote, at least who you vote for, and that's what I want to get to. And
Yeah, we can discuss that. That's fine.
I
That's
love
fine.
that. And then we can always talk about your current projects or any plans that you have in the future. And then, yeah, let's do that.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you, tell us a bit about yourself. Let us get acquainted to you.
Uh, you know, so my real name is Christopher, as some of y'all will find out. Obviously, we all use a stage name mainly is to hide our family. It's when you're doing sex work, you're not necessarily opening yourself up to the highest intellectual interest. A lot of people become obsessed.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't differentiate between fantasy and reality. And so it's really for protection on us. We don't want people showing up at our houses, at our jobs, or harassing our family, or, you get a lot of people throughout the industry. You'll hear people who live in misery love to attempt to drag others down.
To feel better about themselves.
Yeah, if we made it way too easy, people love the idea of, oh, does your family know? Does this know? Does this know? Well, let's make sure they do know. And it's not coming from a place of them attempting to be a good person either. They're pieces of shit, and misery loves company. It's just, I wouldn't say there's good and evil. There's so much evil in the world. There's so many lost people. And when you're lost, you're not going to do anything good.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I also think that people just are ignorant. They're not necessarily evil. They just don't know what they're doing until they do it. I've never done it. I would never do that.
There's different levels of evil, right? And look, evil is evil. So at the end of the day, an evil act is an evil act, right? Whether people intentionally are evil or not is a whole different thing. But the moment you're lost, you start letting a lot of evil into your life, whether you start drinking, whether you start doing drugs, whether you start hanging around risky people, whether you start doing risky things, having unprotected sex with multiple people. That's still evil. That's still, you're giving yourself a chance to be hurt. And then when you're hurt, you're probably not getting tested, and you're probably willing to spread it around too. And it's not even a matter of intent, but that's still evil. That's still a faction of evil.
I absolutely agree with you. I think, and you just brought a very good point. We're going to continue to talk about your career, but you mentioned having sex with multiple people. Do you think that's, because I don't think anything good comes out of it, but obviously we're all entitled to redeem ourselves at some points. And some people, yeah, as you said, they might be lost, but they still can be found. And I obviously I agree with that.
Absolutely, and that's on the person though too. You know what I mean? Like we are born of ignorance. We're all born stupid. Whether you choose to stay stupid or not is on you.
It's up to you. Yeah, it's not anyone's fault.
100% on you, and that's what people struggle with. We have a culture right now that praises victimhood mentalities. And it's to somebody who has taken it upon themselves to help themselves. And once you realize like the sky's the limit, first off, being in a victimhood mentality is about as mediocre as it fucking gets.
I agree.
I cannot stand mediocrity.
It's always everyone else's problem. It's never our problem. I agree with you. And I have an episode on my podcast called Cancel Culture. And I know some people don't believe in that, but I really throw my heart out, and I'm sick of it, to be honest. I'm sick of it. I can't believe how people have the audacity to dictate how you feel about certain things and when you should stop saying certain things. That's not freedom of speech, in my opinion.
No, and that's another thing. I have a new podcast of my own. It's called My First Amendment Right.
Yeah.
I'm an avid constitutionalist. I've always been an avid constitutionalist. my whole, like, since I was a kid, I've been an avid constitutionalist. You know, when I went through civics class, I fully bought into that it is my civic duty to stay informed, and be up to date with current events and know what's going on, because if all of us just fuck off and don't care, then we leave it in the hands of a small group of people that really don't care about us.
Yeah.
And never in history has that ever played out well for the masses.
No.
So,
but let's get back to so tell us where you're from and how did you get into the industry? How did you get into porn?
You know, when I was at the peak of my career, you know, and I've gone through some changes and growing up, you know, maybe I didn't want to admit how down I was when I got into the industry, how much I was struggling with things in my personal life when I got into the industry. I'm at a firm point now that I really believe you can't really believe in yourself and get into the adult industry, because we all know what it comes with. I mean, maybe you're ignorant to understanding that the moment you do any hardcore porn, you're going to cut off a lot of opportunities for yourself. You're going to make life harder on yourself. And, you know, just because of how society is, you know, perception versus reality versus what you think it is, or, you know, you have to make sure you're aligned the right way. You know, when I got into it, I was tired of the mainstream. But the biggest thing was I had, he didn't die, but I had lost my first son in my life. And I was dragged, and it wasn't just like losing him, but the way it was done to me. And we'll get into it a little bit, but it was just pure fucking evil the way that was done. And I had went from taking the control of my life at the age of 10 and bringing myself to where I was pretty much a model citizen. Like I was something that if I would have kept going on the path that I was going, that I was quite confident that I could go out and say, young man, do it like this. And there'd be nothing you could use against me to say, oh, but you did this. So like now I have a porn career, right? So as I move forward and I'm trying to teach men how to deal with mental health issues, and I'm trying to say, it's not that I want to say, look at me and do it my way. I'm trying to say, look at me. All this can happen to you, and you can still make the decision to be a better man in this world. Absolutely.
And sometimes it's not about your past. It's about, don't do what I did, do what I'm telling you. That's
why you have alcoholics at AA meetings.
Exactly.
That's why you have convicted felons or speakers letting kids know, like, hey, don't do this.
Yeah, they're the best ones.
I'm lucky. They're like, you know, I'm lucky to have made it out unscathed, but most of the people that I've seen are dead. Or diseased, or homeless, or crazy, or still suicidal, or they're just, you know, they smile in their Instagram and their Twitter posts, but I know fucking damn well they live in hell mentally.
And that's it. We don't learn from smiley faces on Instagram. We learn from examples, and don't take this the wrong way. Like you, for example, you just mentioned your porn past, and yeah, that's a perfect example to show to the kids. Basically, this is what I did. If you want to do it, be yourself. You're free to do whatever you want, but there are consequences.
I would go a step further and say, "Don't be a fucking idiot. Don't do it."
You're more blunt than I am.
I spent my career helping people stay away.
Yeah.
Everybody comes to the porn store. Hey, how do I get into it? And I really sit down with them. I'm like, why do you want to get into this? Do you even understand what this brings to your life? Yeah. You're not happy because of money? Bro, I wish somebody would have talked to me when I was 21 or 23 about to get in, to be like, hey, you know, if you just take a few years, you actually have the potential to still be quite something else. You don't need this.
But I think for them, it's easy money. I think for them, it's easy money as well. It's not just money. And it's also the bubble they live in. Do you agree?
Yeah, it encourages it. You know, they're like, hey, it's no big deal. It's no, you know, the rise of OnlyFans, I really feel is like one of the most sinister things that was done in the country. And I believe it's all been done on purpose, because now anybody that wants to aspire to be anything, when they want to enter the corporate world, at least in the United States, you have no job protection.
Yeah.
So let's say you get out of OnlyFans, you did a few scenes. It's out there forever now, right? Yeah. Somebody downloaded it. It's out there. So you work your way up the corporate ladder. You go back to school. You're just about to become the CEO and take care of your family forever. Boom, there goes a video. You're fired. No pension, no nothing, no shit. Now, if you live in Europe, in like Germany, there's some like laws and protections against that. But most of us live in the States.
Yeah.
So, I can't speak to over there, but even still, I will say the sex industry is nothing good. It doesn't promote positive mental health. You're dealing with people objectifying you, literally thinking that you're the bottom of the barrel because you decided to do sex work.
Do you have friends in the industry or former friends or people that you used to know that died of it?
Oh, died of what?
Of anything mental health related.
Rampant. Suicide is rampant in the industry. It doesn't get talked as much on the LGBT side because, we don't have the coverage the mainstream has.
Yeah.
Anytime a female dies, it's covered. Anytime a gay guy dies or a bisexual man dies or a trans person dies, it's just another day.
Yeah, that is true. And that's something that needs to be changed, to be honest.
Yeah. But we need to go back to society, where kids understand that this is not something that you should aspire to do.
Absolutely.
It really is not. There's literally only been one person I helped get into the industry, and it was a trans person, and they were in a place in Ohio that had no job opportunities, and their dad was literally beating the fuck out of them every day. And I was traveling, and I literally paid for their flight to Dallas with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I connected them with a few other top trans models because I'm not trans. I don't fucking know shit about how a trans person, but I knew the people that would.
Yeah.
So I got them away from their abuser for a second, and and just as before, like trans rights too, and everything like that. So I'm trying to figure out, like, I really don't want you in this industry, but I don't want you to get killed at home.
I mean, that's the least you could do.
Now that's an extreme example, though. Let's be honest here. The majority of this country is not going after trans people. Majority of trans people are not going to get killed by their parents. Like, fuck your feelings. I don't give a fuck if you don't feel comfortable. That's in your fucking head for you to figure out. That's probably because your parents fucked you up. Yeah. I'm going to be dead ass honest. Like, we'll get to that as well. Like my journey out of it and like realizing some things. And
how old were you when you started?
So technically, right, I dipped my toes into the adult industry. I think the first time I was 19, I did stripping.
That is a young age.
This wasn't public or anything. I was up in Maine at the time. I didn't do any vote. Actually, I did do one video. No, I was 20. Yeah, I was 20. About to turn 21. I did a video that I've never seen surface anywhere. It was with 3 women. Mm-hmm. And, I had to get drunk as shit to do it because I was so nervous. And then because I still had my morals about me, I was dating this girl. I couldn't bring myself to fuck any of them. So I just ate one's pussy and then jacked off on the other one while making out with another. To me, that was like, I was like, look, I had an opportunity to fuck them, but I didn't.
Yeah.
That was like the last of my morals. Like,
that's curious though, because you still had, you've always had morals, but in this sense, you still had morals, but you still went ahead and did it. Because
I crossed the line, right?
Okay, so it's all about.
So like I still had lines in other places, right? But it was like the moral sense of cheating. I mean, God, you get into sex work and you're having sex all the time. Like probably the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to become a habitual cheater.
That's the thing, having relationships while you do porn. That's another topic that people have talked about.
That was a road. When I first got into it, I didn't even tell the girl that I was dating, and she eventually found out, and never do that again. I made it as I was young, and again, I'm going to relate this back to not having good people in your life that guide you. At the end of the day, it's up to you. But when you're young and you're growing up, this is why fathers are so fucking important, and to have a good father in your life or even a good grandfather. Mm-hmm. You need somebody to tell you that, look, as long as you work hard, you can become something. There's so many ways to do it. And at 36 years old right now, I'm even learning more and more stuff that if I would have known at a young age, my thought pattern of the projection of my own life would have been completely different. But I didn't have it. Like the people that I see now, they were, I don't want to say pieces of shit, but they were really in no position to try to help a young kid trying to figure out how to be sufficient enough to raise his own family in New England.
That's really sad.
You know, but again, I made my choices, and I knew right before I got into the industry, I had my reasonings. You know, I grew up knowing what it's like to be ostracized, to be marginalized, and everything like that. So I kind of identified with the LGBT community, even though I was like kind of on the bi spectrum. The pansexual is not a real thing. Let's just be open and honest here. You're bi, like there's only two genders. So you can either be gay, you only like a man liking a man, you're either a woman liking a woman that's a lesbian, or you're bisexual, you can fuck either, right? Mm-hmm. Good job. Like there's no more terminology there. And then trans just simply means you were born one gender and you think you're the other gender. And then that just applies.
That's a current debate. That's a current debate that's been going on. I can ask you about that. So what do you think is going to happen? How are you moving the needle in terms of the narrative?
Oh my God. So apparently the whole entire fucking community doesn't know what a pendulum is. They are never taught just basic life, morality and balance and cause and effect. And you know, it's like, you know, what's funny is like the country is propping up the extreme minorities, right? And to a point, it's like, okay, like we can all agree that nobody should have to walk the street in fear of being attacked for who they decide to fuck behind closed doors. Because let's make this perfectly clear. In the United States of America, you're not supposed to be having sex in public.
I mean,
that's illegal.
I also think that there's a lot of scaremongering going on. And I think people get killed, people get harassed all the time for their sexual orientation, period. But I think
get killed for all sorts of reasons.
Exactly.
Every day,
not just that, exactly. Yeah. So I think people like to scaremonger others.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think it comes from the top. It's all one, in my opinion, one big, huge scapegoat kind of attitude.
Well, it's the victimhood mentality.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, look, I grew up in Central Florida. I went to an all-black elementary school. Mm-hmm. I lived in a black neighborhood. I got my ass beat every fucking day. And yet you're not a victim. I don't, there's not a prejudice bone in my body. I don't walk around one black person being like, oh, I got a good job. Yeah. I don't see a group of black people and be like, oh, I got a good job because when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, bro, we were fucking kids. Shut the fuck up. Like, you step to me now, I'll knock your fucking jaw through your teeth.
There you go. Kids can be nasty, but that doesn't mean people don't evolve. Exactly. I agree with you.
Exactly. Like, but here's the thing. You know what you don't do in society? You don't bug someone who has nothing to do with you. You don't force your views on people, whether that's religion, whether that's sports, whether that's politics. It never ends well. And then I also say, like, okay, like the whole conversation of pride. What is respectful about celebrating the lowest common denominator of humanity? Your sexual identity. There's nothing to be respected in that. Yeah. But what when I first started doing the pride parades, I just noticed like it kept getting more and more salacious. And I'm like, you guys are walking through the public and you want the public to respect you and you want to be one of them. And because the whole point was to win the battle of equality, right?
Yeah. And that's a very good point because I have another episode on this podcast where I talk about pride and in other words, I mentioned we're not celebrities. I don't need to parade myself so people can... We already have equality. I think of parading themselves because they're some kind of celebrities, but we're not celebrities. We're like everyone else. I don't need parades. I only need rights. That's all I need. I don't care about pride.
Exactly. You just want look, just like, and look, you really don't see a lot of straight people on a Sunday afternoon around a lot of kids just making out and groping the fuck out of each other. That is, like, decorum matters, etiquette matters, being aware of your surrounding matters. And if you want anybody to even have a shred of respect for you, you need to have respect for everybody around you at all fucking times.
I left last year. Last year, I went to Pride with my friend. I was there for like an hour. And I saw people doing drugs in the street, doing whatever. They were just partying. And you know what I did? I got the tube back home. I thought, no, I've had it. You have fun.
And I have kids. My kids don't even know that I've ever been involved in anything adult. Yeah. So if you got to understand, like, where I believe kids should be in terms of this or anything sexual, it's not for them. So LGBT is literally only referring to your sexual preference. It doesn't belong around minors.
I agree with you. I think now that's what it represents, but I don't think it represented that. And you said that before. It didn't represent that in the 60s, 70s. It represented something completely different. And I think...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And men knew that, even gay men knew that, like, leave the kids alone. This isn't about the kids. It's just about us, like, what we're adults now. We just want to be just like, you got your rock bars, you got your places where lawyers hang out, and this is just where the gays hang out. But we're not bringing kids into this. We're not trying to push just on kids. Like, look, a gay person will figure out they're gay on their own. A lesbian will figure out they're a lesbian on their own. Yeah. Bisexual guy will figure out he's bi on their own. And straight dudes are, whatever, it goes. Even when we go through puberty, like, puberty is blind, right? You don't need to swish it or wash it. We all figure it out on our own, right? Like, you might fool around with your friend, but eventually you're like, yeah, I want kids and I like eating pussy. Like, it's just what it is, dude. I'm sorry.
What do you say, if I had to play devil's advocate, what do you say to people who said, no, this is not about us being sexual. This is not about our, which, by the way, we're very sexual. This is not about that. This is about because we've been repressed for so many years, and therefore we have to express ourselves. I agree with you.
So I would say, like, okay, yeah, I get you've been repressed, and that's why we did the whole thing of bringing awareness out. But you have to understand, like, the majority of the population doesn't give a fuck about you. Us. And it's like, okay, marriage. We got gay marriage, and that applies to women as well. And then it was like trans rights. But here's the thing with trans people. It is gender dysphoria. And whether you like the term or not, that's a form of mental illness. Now, what I will say is there is a very minute percentage of actual real trans people who are not just really in need of just, like, help. And it's not, and I don't say that because I don't want to bash them, but they're people, they're human beings, and they come from, and 9 times out of 10, they come from a very fucked up family. And I tell you what, mothers are the most responsible for fucking up kids. Because here's the thing, men are not meant to be emotional.
That's you're touching in an area.
Men are evil.
You're touching in an area which I find it very interesting. It kind of falls into the red pill territory, where men are the provider and women are the nurturing person. So, yeah, have you met Blair White? I know we're talking about trans people and we talk about red pill.
I heard that name the other day, but I follow Buck Angel.
Buck, yeah, on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've known about Buck and followed Buck. We followed each other for years because we were both at, like, the apex of the industry, right?
Yeah.
We're the industry leaders. We're the voices of reason. And again, I was always about trans rights, but I've always had my hard lines on shit, right? I'm for things that are logical. I'm not for emotional bullshit because emotions aren't real. We have to live a life based in logic. And that's why men, go look around the world. We lead the fucking world for a fucking reason. Because I'm sorry, but I would never, I'm so happy I was born a man. just because our brain chemistry is different. Look, if as a man, if you've ever, in the LGBT community, it's much more common for men to deal with like testosterone and steroids, right? Mm-hmm. So you even get a little bit of an education on what you're doing when you're messing with your own hormones. And if you've ever gone off of testosterone, what happens is your test levels drop and you have a higher ratio of estrogen to testosterone. And if you ever had a thought while your brain's like that, oh my God, is it a fucking roller coaster ride? Like I remember the one time I did it and literally almost every thought sent me into a suicidal pattern. I'm just like, oh my God, I never and that's what women are born with. Some of them it can be maybe slightly like this, but the moment the estrogen is higher than the testosterone, chemically wise, it's very hard to control emotions. And this isn't like a fault of theirs, but this is why when you write laws, when you're passing laws, when you're talking about how society should be, it always has to be grounded in logic. And only that, all this science that's coming out has been completely debunked. It was paid for. It was bullshit. It was not peer reviewed the right way. It didn't even go through the right scientific process to be called science. And so now we've been lying to people, telling kids there's 1,700 different genders, telling women that they can, telling men that they can be women. No, you could be trans. Mm-hmm. You will never be a woman. So now we're trampling on women's rights. Now we have guys.
That's the whole debate that's been happening of trans in the toilets and trans in sport. And that's been.
And trans in sports is like my hard line. No, as an athlete, it's just look. If trans people want to do sports, create your own fucking league. Problem solved. Oh, we don't have the numbers. Neither did women at the beginning, you fucking fag. Shut the fuck up.
What about prisons?
Definitely do not want to put a trans person in with women. And, here's the thing. It's on the prisons. And prison in outside the United States is much different than prison in the United States. Prison in the United States, I'd say, is one of the most corrupt things as well.
Okay.
So, there is a way to put them in a male's prison and keep them safe, but we're not going to pay to do so. So that doesn't mean they don't belong with the males because they got a dick. And just God's honest truth, for fuck's sake, have women not, you trans haven't fought for that fucking long. Women have been fighting for fucking ever. Let's really break it down here. This is just a bunch of weak fucking men wanting special fucking treatment. And now they're trampling on women's rights because they think it's easier to live a life of a woman than it is the man the fuck up and be a fucking man. And yeah, it is hard. But you know what? It's such a blessing to be a man too. You know why? Because I can walk down the street anywhere in the fucking world and I don't have half the worries a woman has. And then when women are around me, they feel safe.
Yeah.
If I'm walking around a bunch of fucking women,
because you're the protector.
You know who has my back if I'm around a bunch of women?
Yeah.
Me. I gotta have to have eyes in both fucking places. They will stand around yelling, not doing shit as I'm getting stabbed. Women are not the protectors in society ever. A fucking building is burning. Who's running into that shit? Men. I don't want to see a woman try to carry my ass out. We'll both die.
Do you watch or do you listen to the Whatever podcast?
I probably have heard
Fresh and Fit.
Maybe.
That's basically what they say. They say the exact same thing.
And it's not true. And again, it's nothing bad about women. Women are amazing. Without women, we can't procreate. Without women, men cannot do everything. We have to go out into this world and deal with other men. We have and only a woman can manipulate a man, but a woman will never know what a man's really thinking. And when women don't even know half the time when they're dealing with an actual intelligent man, how easily a man can manipulate a woman's emotions.
Yeah.
There's debate on even the whole voting thing, because when you're voting on legislation and things that are actually really important for the country and 10 years, 20 years down the line, it is so easy to manipulate the women vote with issues like abortion. Abortion, in my opinion, should be banned. It's a horrible thing. Like, who the fuck is like, oh, I want my right to my abortion. I can't wait. I was like, well, if you had the right fucking family and a good fucking father and you had half a fucking sense in your head, you wouldn't let a man fuck you without a condom. What's wrong with condoms? When did condoms become irrelevant? I need birth control. Bitch, that's gonna warp your head. Man, no, you're gonna let a guy fuck you. He has to have a condom. Otherwise, it's called rape. And that is the only time that I consider an abortion would be okay, is if somebody raped you, or if the baby, literally, the delivering it was going to kill you.
What about incest?
Medical emergency.
What about incest?
That's still, I consider rape.
Yeah.
Because a baby would more likely be born with a birth defect. That's science. That is real science. We know that. We know that inbreeding leads to birth defects. So why would you want a soul to be born on earth who's probably going to live their life, not even be able to enjoy a normal human life, right? Medical emergencies, but abortion should not be as available as buying a pack of cigarettes.
This is very interesting, and this is why I love having you on the podcast, because no matter if I agree with you, if I don't agree with you, this is the beauty of it. We can just discuss, or I can hear opinions from different people, like you, like other people who don't think like you, and that's the beauty of it. This is what you advocate for.
And another thing too, let's really talk about it here. When was the last time a woman had a pregnancy without sex with a man? So how's that baby in there 100% theirs to choose of whether it lives or dies? Abortion affects men just as much. You're a man. You're about to have your first child. The girl wants to kill your first child. If society really thinks, if we want to be honest here, that does not traumatize the man as well, we're literally lying to ourselves.
What do you think about men who even ask women to do it because they don't want to be fathers?
And those are beta men. Those are men that are afraid. No, and look, I had some beta traits that I've been working on in myself, so I can become a better man. My son needs the best father that I can possibly be. And I've really had to look at myself and look at introspection in my life and realize and it's not about wanting to be alpha, but it's more or less we call beta traits that make a man not do what a man should do. We run away from things. That's not a good trait in a man.
So do you consider yourself a high-value man?
I am working on myself to become such a man that will be good for my son, a man that contributes in a positive way to society. You know, mass conformity, we were warned about this shit in the 90s. So to be a good man does not mean you need to be agreeable. Mm-hmm. Being a good man is knowing what's right and just doing what's right. Whether you like it or not, whether it's hard or not. You know, like, I accepted, and I'm not religious, I accepted God into my life about 8 months ago. But half of it was realizing God's been there the whole time. That's my gut instinct. When you enter a situation, most of the reason why we don't do things is because we're afraid of what someone might say. We're afraid of losing our jobs. We're afraid of getting disconnected from our groups. We're afraid of being ostracized. But there is that moment when you're about to do something that right here, you know the right answer. You know the right thing to do. If you're an alcoholic, you know not to pick up the drink.
What made you, because I want to go back a little bit, because we were talking about your career, and we're going to get to Trump in a minute, but I just wanted to talk about, because you just mentioned 8 months ago, what changed? What was the shift that happened with you?
You know, I've always been interested in the subject of, I mean, God, how can you not be, as a human being, anybody that has like a sense of wanting to control their own life and their own destiny, how can you not take a moment and be like, you know, where did we all come from? Like if you just ponder the thought about it, right? And then you allow yourself to start attempting to get educated. The first thought we have, and I still believe that I can't call myself a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or whatever it is, because there's no text that hasn't been censored and altered by rulers. by men, and I have a hard time trusting men with power. So to me though, dude, this is all way too fucking complex to happen by accident. Right? So when I say God, some people get triggered by that word, but when I just say God, that's a very simplistic term for knowing that there's something more. And there's an energy. I fully believe in energy and frequencies and stuff like that.
I do too.
I got into manifestation when I was really young. I believe and always expecting the best is yet to come. That's why I have no problem ever losing everything I have at any given moment. Because if it needs to be taken from me, it's for a reason. But I shall prosper again.
Yeah.
Better and more.
There's always a light.
But if I cry about what I've lost, then I don't deserve what's coming next. That's always been my mindset.
That's fair enough.
I'm fortunate. Not everybody has that mindset. Somebody loses one paycheck and literally they cry about it for a month instead of just moving on and doing their due diligence. I've always had like a thing called self-faith. I believe that if I put in the work, I believe that if I have pure intentions, I believe that if I am doing what I need to do, something will come of it for me.
But you got to put the work on it.
Yeah, and that's another thing of good versus evil. Evil attracts more evil. Evil comes in the face of fast money, people kissing your ass, yes men, and quick pleasures. Mm-hmm. The best things in life, God, it takes so much work, so much discipline, so much faith in keeping your head down when everything around you is trying to pull you this way and pull you that way. But the best things in life are the things that you work for, that you sacrifice for, that you believe in. And just, and I came to the point where I was looking around me and I also too, just seen all the fucking satanic symbolism around. I'm like, this shit's getting on like steroids now. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So for that to be there, I always believe in balance. It would not be so if the other side wasn't being suppressed. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? Whatever it is, I don't want evil in my life because I'm going to die and I have kids and I need to make the biggest impact I can in this life. As a man, as a citizen, it's my civic duty to try to leave this better than what I came into, even if just so my kids don't have to suffer.
And we're all like a work in progress, but where are you now? Do you think, are you like happy, comfortable with your life at the moment? And also I was going to ask you, when did you leave the industry?
I'm still technically
That's what I thought, but I thought I'd ask you.
So what happened in 2017 is I got blacklisted for a tweet I made.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so that's what happened with the studio work. All the studios considered me untouchable because of the draw, whatever. They're fucking idiots. I anybody films with me, I'm still their number one top selling film. Because my fan, I got real fans. I'm not just another face in the industry. I actually took the time.
I mean, it went viral over a salad.
That too. That was another thing. But I've also been very outspoken. I've never been afraid to speak I've never been afraid to connect with real people. I've never been afraid just to be real, right? Yeah. And a lot of people connected with that. Whether they hated me, you either love me or you fucking hate me. Mm-hmm. But that's the sign of a true celebrity, right? You're like, you can't deny me. I've transcended the porn industry.
You're still here.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing to do. But I realized going into it, I would have to do that, if not just for my own son's sake. So when it comes to time, he gets in high school and people are like, "Oh, your dad's blah blah blah." Mm-hmm. If I just left it at me just being a porn star, that's going to be tough on him. But if I can make more of myself, do more for the community around him, your dad may be a porn star, but you know what, dude? He was a fucking awesome dude. Like, he helped out. He looked out for people. He made sure people that it all comes back. People understand that like being reckless with your life comes back to you.
So you're like a boomerang. You believe in karma.
If you want, and again, it's like saying God. To me, karma is like a simplified word.
Mm-hmm.
Energy you put out is the energy you get back. You even if unconsciously, your actions tell the universe what to give back to you.
It's the law of the attraction, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree with that. I'm a big believer in that. So
and that's why I have some friends still in the industry, but it was 5 years before I even went to my first event. Just because I didn't like really like the atmosphere of a whole bunch of people just doing drugs and fucking and not being, just, even though God or godless, to me, there was just, again, I always just had this gut feeling of where I should or should not be at any given time, where I did or did not belong.
When you say event, what do you mean? Or your first event that you went to?
AVN.
Oh, okay. It took you 5 years.
I just went to work and went home.
Okay, that's interesting. Years. Yeah.
No social media either. Yeah. My first 5 years in the industry, I had no social media. And then I decided, I was like, I wonder if I could take this industry over. And it took me only 2 years.
Yeah.
To really just make a concerted effort to like rise to the top. Literally only took me 2 years. And I was right there before my tweet.
Oh, I see. Yep. Do you want to talk about that, or shall we just move on?
I think that's been talked about enough. It's not that I don't care about talking about it, but I was used in such a scapegoat way that I feel bringing me even into the discussion really dishonors what actually happened and what should be focused on for that day.
Yeah.
But anybody that knows that I went through one of the harshest cancellations in the history of the industry.
I remember.
And I stood my ground. I stood tall. I didn't let it define me. And and one day I had to replace over $100,000 career. And I had a wife. She had 2 daughters. I had my son, his sister. I had everybody riding on my back. I didn't have time to cry. Oh, I cried, but I didn't have time to sit still and let it define me.
To sulk, yeah.
I had to be myself. And look, I'm just one of those people. If I do something wrong, I'm gonna own up to it. I tell you what, I was a kid one time, my brother hit it. It wasn't my real father. It was my stepfather. But my brother has Asperger's. And we were kids one time. I grew up because his dad hated me because I wasn't his. He beat the shit out of me almost every day. One day I convinced him that my brother did something that I did. And I witnessed my brother take the beating. Never in my life again. But I cannot stand somebody else taking the flack for something that I know I've done. So, but because I know I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then they started doxing my family and posting pictures of where my kids were and everything. I put my foot right in the fucking ground because nobody else was going to speak up for me. And I just told everyone to go fuck themselves.
I didn't know that happened to you.
Not a lot of people did. They didn't advertise what was, on the wrong side. And a few years later, when I started going back to the events and talking with all the industry owners, like I had to meet that person's agent. And when I walked by them, they made a comment. And this is the kind of guy I am. Everybody thinks I'm this like abrasive asshole and I'm going to beat your ass. Like I am probably one of the most rational people you'll ever talk to. And it's great if you have a problem with me because more than likely after we talk, we will come to a mutual understanding. And because of the rapport that we'll build, we'll have a mutual respect for each other that is more than most other people. Mm-hmm. But I literally just went back up to him and I just told him like what had actually happened, what happened to me and how I handled it and why everything went the way it went. He's like, I didn't know all that. I was like, yeah. It's like, they didn't report it, did it? He's like, well, and we shook hands. Someone that literally thought they hated me, I walked away shaking hands with.
People also love the clickbait. People also love to publish.
Well, look, it was the LGBT side versus the straight side. The straight side had been getting pushed back with the gay stuff and the bi stuff and the trans stuff. They were just waiting. Again, a pendulum, right? They were just waiting for an opportunity to have an excuse to say fag and die this and die that. And then when I saw it happening, I was like, this is not good for anybody. This is not what I'm about. I'm like, look, if you want to say that about politicians, I might be on board. But when it comes to just us, the common people, we're pushed to pull.
Attack the top. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much shit in this country. I'm just like, why don't you guys actually just focus your energy towards those who actually have any power to do anything.
But I am glad you're in a better place, and it's, honestly, it makes me happy just to know that, because I remember when that happened. We're not gonna pry on that, and we're gonna move on. But yeah, good to hear that you're okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, because you said, I've read that you voted Democrats for over 15 years, and then you changed.
I never voted. Actually, to tell you the truth, though.
I love your hat, by the way.
Thank you.
It says "Fuck Biden."
So I never actually registered as a Democrat until the Biden-Trump election. Now I don't believe in the two-party system. Again, I'm a constitutionalist, but the Democratic machine was the one pushing for the civil rights stuff. And when we're young and dumb, a lot of us are liberals because when we're teenagers, you have that rebellious spirit, right? Me.
You dye your hair blue. Yeah.
Oh, the Democrats prey on that. They do, and they got the money. The Republicans. They shoot themselves in the foot because the whole point of conservatives is less government involvement. So they're not out there trying to shove everything down your throat. So they don't understand that the young and vulnerable, whoever gets in their face more with their message, is going to win. Right? So that's how the Republicans lost number for forever, because they're waiting for everybody to get in their 30s to realize, once I'm making money, fuck Democrats. Or just rights are rights, but at some point when you force other people to do anything, that's very unconstitutional. And no matter if you have feelings towards it, at the end of the day, if you look at the long-term stuff, you really want to be left alone. Like the Constitution, the way it's written, no other country in history has had a Constitution last as long as ours. Like the average life of a Constitution is less than 17 years for a country. Ours has lasted a couple hundred years. So it's it's good. It's good. We'll make the amendments, but there's they set it up with such a process and so many checks and balances, because it came from knowing about how the world gets and how power corrupts. And it did everything it could. And these were men in their 20s that wrote this shit. But real men, that had to be real men. There's literally, you weren't a real man, you could possibly die. Like real life stuff, you know what I mean? There's no time to be depressed. That's another thing too, right? People have too much time on their hands.
Yeah.
Too many things going on with no substance. So
in 2016, did you vote for Trump or did you vote for Hillary?
2016 it was Trump or Hillary, right?
Yeah.
I didn't vote for anybody.
Okay.
I was because in my mind, look, I was a Bernie supporter at that point.
Yeah.
And I saw them cheat him out of the primary.
I did like him.
Oh my God. Literally, we should sue the United States government for stealing everybody's money. Is that not fraud? If everybody is donating to Bernie Sanders because we believe that he's in a system that if we support him, he'll get elected our nominee, just to find out that system really actually is lying to you. You don't have the influence that you say you do with your money. To me, that's massive fraud. And Bernie got a lot of fucking money from us. Just to watch the emails come out that the DNC was conspiring against him. And this is what made me go, are you fucking retarded? The head of the DNC, that Debbie girl, got fired for it all. A week later, Hillary hired her to her campaign trail.
What was the name? Debbie what?
It's a really weird last name.
Debbie something. Okay.
Shush. It's like an SH.
Yeah. I
can't remember her fucking name. But literally was the head running it, got caught cheating. Bernie was fired, and literally we all had our eyes on her, and then Hillary hired her to her campaign trail. And it's just okay, we caught you cheating. Now you're going to hire the person that was in charge of the cheating? I don't know why you think anybody would fucking vote for you. At that point, I wasn't a Trump fan at all. I'm still not a Trump fan.
You're not?
No, I don't think. Like, look, the fact that we have to vote between these two is ridiculous.
Which is the lesser of the evils, yeah.
It's not even that. Look, Trump is an outsider. Trump has to worry about Trump. Always. That's what Trump has. Trump is not the establishment. So who do I fear more? One fucking con man or big con machine? Well, I fucking tell you what, for the past 40 years, look at where we're fucking at. And it has nothing to do with him. He had 4 fucking years. You think we got here just because of 4 years? Nah, dude. Same people been in Congress for almost 4 decades. The fuck have they been doing but fucking us up and cheating us and selling us out?
And they're still promising you change.
It's like, you could have, he made more fucking change in 4 years, whether you like the change or fucking not. But the fact is, this is why JFK was killed. Because he wanted to change. He wanted to kick out certain things. Nixon was taken out too because he wanted to take out certain factions and certain lobbyists in our government. Foreign influence. We won't get into that, but
the Kennedy one, do you think
the CIA killed him?
You remind me of Jesse Ventura. He thinks so because I think Kennedy wanted to pull out of Cuba, something to do with that, and the government, because there's always profiteers.
He made a speech about the secret organizations leading the country.
Yeah,
he was against the Federal Reserve. He was against Israel. Like people, and that's another thing too, that this people in this country have to start to realize: who should have more influence over our own country? Us or any other foreign nation? I'll tell you the one that's had the most, though, that shouldn't. Is a very small little country trying to expand their territory over in the Middle East.
Right. let's get to that. Tell me about your views, even though I kind of have an idea. And by the way, sorry, I think no matter who's going to be Trump or Biden, I don't think no matter who wins, there's not really a winner in this when it comes to Palestine, Israel.
For that issue, and that's.
I don't even know if Trump's going to be better than Biden at this.
So
if he gets elected.
Here, my thing, and you're right, as far there's a lot of different issues too. As far as America's first, we need Trump, right? Because the Trump brand relies and depends upon the image of America. So that's why I say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The entire government is trying to take down Trump. Well, you know who I don't fucking trust more than Trump? The fucking government.
I don't think this meeting with Putin and the Chinese president, the North Korean president or leader, I don't think this would happen if Trump was in power. I really don't.
Fuck no. Hell no.
And he's met both of them.
The commander-in-chief of the United States of America must be strong every single day of the year.
Yeah.
You don't want our enemies laughing at us. Granted, we've created half of our fucking enemies. The United States created Al-Qaeda. We created the Taliban. We created ISIS, just like Israel created Hamas. We let 9/11 happen, so we had an excuse to go into the Middle East and destabilize it and put in the central banks. It's been planned for 30 years prior to 9/11 happening. But there's a plan between the United States and Israel to build a new canal through Gaza that would give Israel and the United States more control of the region instead of taking the traditional route through there. So Gaza is going to be taken out because of Hamas. This has been pre-planned for forever. They just wanted an excuse so Israel didn't lose so much fucking support for slaughtering people. That's all it is.
But how do you think it's going to end, though? Because no matter what, that's what I mean with Trump or Biden.
We are so powerless. And it's I don't care who you are. And I'm not mad at the people of Israel. It's government.
It's not the people. It's never the people.
We have no power. No. We're not dropping I've never been asked in my life. No United States citizen has actually been given the vote whether or not we're going to war. It actually used to be that way before the Federal Reserve. When we had tariffs and everything, people would actually get a chance to vote whether they're going to war. But that's you're talking about 200 years ago. Mm-hmm. World War I, II, Vietnam, at all these fucking wars that's happened since, we've literally had zero say. And the government literally does false flag events and fear mongering to try to get you to go along with it, so you don't become so fed up that you start a French Revolution. Because look, like I'm never gonna be okay with killing innocent people, men, women, or children. It's not obviously like the babies.
And why does history always begin with October the 7th? I never understood that. History began way before that.
I haven't gone down that rabbit hole, but and again, I don't even like. I separate real Jews from Zionists.
I think we all at this point do. I mean, I respect everyone.
The media is trying everything in its fucking power, because the first thing that tipped me off to even start thinking about this stuff was when October 7th happened. Mm-hmm. The report came out that what really happened. I mean, here's the first thing that gave it away to me. Israel has the most advanced security system in the fucking world, and if I'm neighboring to my biggest fucking enemies, like, you have to understand, the people of Palestine have been in an open air prison camp for decades. So that means Israel has spies there. Israel has listening devices, cameras. They own that fucking shit. There's nothing you can do in Palestine that Israel doesn't know about 24/7. So if they were building tunnels, bitch, they knew about it.
And also, how was it so easy to infiltrate in Israel to that festival? How was it so easy to get there?
They allowed it to happen. Because October 7th was their 9/11. And because again, remember, the United States and Israel has a deal to build a new canal through Gaza. They need everybody out. So they already know that Palestinians aren't going to do it willingly, and why should they?
You really don't.
Their families have been there for centuries.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of years, Palestinians have been there, whether the Jews were there thousands of years ago. So you're telling me that every single native in this country right now should start scalping us because we came in here and took their land with manifest destiny? It's like, yeah, use your fucking head, right? If the Jews wanted to integrate into the area that they thought was Israel, they could have done it peacefully, because Jews, Muslims, and Christians existed in that area peacefully for hundreds of years.
Do you know what's the biggest cop out that I hear from the other side is, oh, it's great for you to have your freedom of speech and be vocal about that. You wouldn't be vocal about that next to Hamas being gay, being a woman, etc. I think that's an easy, a cheap shot, to be honest, because you don't have to be.
It's like, no shit, right?
What's that?
It's like, no shit, right? It's the same reason why I'm not going to go to the worst neighborhood in fucking New York and wear a fucking flashy watch and hold a briefcase that says I have $1 million in it. It's like, but that doesn't excuse the fact that they are people that are entitled in their own country to their own laws to live their own fucking lives the way they want to fucking live them. And you're aware of how they are, so don't fucking go there. Right? I know that even being myself, I haven't been to Dubai because I'm not exactly sure, like, because it just, again, there's places in the United States, depending on who you are, you just know it's maybe just not the best idea for you to go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it never excuses mass murdering. It never excuses, I mean, good dude, they have the
genocide.
It's just, it's not going to end well for them because it's already been predetermined. The only thing I can hope is they realize that and they get out.
Who's they?
The Palestinians.
How are they going to do that?
I don't know.
That's what I mean. They're not.
And we are powerless. Like I said, we're powerless. But I'm not going to sit here and condemn them. If anything, you got to sit here and think, okay, because somebody back before World War I made a doctrine to give up Palestine that you had no fucking clue about. One day you're told to take everything you know for 100 years and get the fuck out or you're dead. You're going to fight. And now you're imprisoned. Well, it's only human nature for people that are imprisoned under false pretenses to eventually rebel. Mm-hmm. Like we all watch Star Wars. We sided with the rebels, right? We watch other movies where the smaller faction has been overtaken by this evil power. and we all side with the people that are being oppressed, now you're literally being tricked to
in real life
on the oppressors. Yeah. And this isn't about being anti-Jewish. It's not, and that's what they do to you. That's how they kill the argument. Oh, you're just anti-Semitic. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm anti-bombing babies. I'm like, I think there's a little bit of a fucking difference. And it's not even that. It's like, again, the people that are doing this, they hide behind Judaism. They're not real Jews. You can't be a real Jew and
Judaism has nothing to do with what we can see now, thanks to social media and places like TikTok, Instagram. We can see the videos of people being killed.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the fact that they're Jews or Muslims or whatever.
And another thing, it's like, and you got it again, the Jewish community needs to rise up and take accountability for their own bad apples. Right? Because this is why I went down the rabbit hole. I'm thinking, like, you guys have been kicked out of 94 of 112 countries. Who else has been treated like look. One or two, you can say, okay, that country was just xenophobic, right? 90% of the countries you motherfuckers get into, they kick you out. Why? And look, it's not because of the majority. It only takes a few that know what they're doing to keep on their bullshit that misrepresent the rest of us. And ignorance isn't always bliss. When we, again, in this community, this LGBT community, if I don't take this time to stand up and be like, no, get the shit out of schools. Gender affirming care should never happen. There are only two fucking genders, and we need extreme help with mental health issues. If I don't stand up and speak for that, everybody's going to think I stand for that shit.
Do you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, but my view is I don't think I belong. I've never felt I belong anywhere, but I don't think I belong in the LGBT community. To me, it's a so-called LGBT because I think like I'm not on my Twitter. I say I'm not in a monolithic group. I'm just myself. I've got my views. I read the news. I watch the news. I do whatever, and then I'll form my own opinion. I don't have to follow a crowd. So just because it's cool, just because it's a trendy thing to do,
that too. And we have a whole bunch of kids that have mental health issues, and they're pushing them into the community. And here's the thing. What's funny is that we should take the month of June to celebrate straight people. Because look, you were born, 90% of us were born as straight people, right? But here's the thing. Gay rights, trans rights, who do you think's responsible for that?
Do you know what's scary though? It's like when we express these opinions, we get stripped of our livelihood. We get cancelled because we can't do it.
And again, I've never given a fuck. It's like, you literally would not have gay rights and trans rights without straight people because you don't have the numbers. Don't have anywhere the fucking numbers that make a difference. So you are reliant upon straight people to give a fuck about you. So it's like, how about you shut the fuck up now and stop pushing them? Do not. I tell you what, as adults, we can all sit here and say other adults have the right to live their lives in peace. You're never going to convince except the fucking evil fucking women that want to say, oh, I got trans kids. Look at me. It's an ego trip for them. It's not about the kid. It's an ego trip for them.
Like Hollywood celebrities are doing that.
Oh my God. But you ever watch Jordan Peterson?
Yeah, I like him.
Having one trans kid, like having a kid that is actually trans, not someone who, it's very rare for kids because kids aren't supposed to be focusing on their gender or sexuality. But having a kid that's trans is like less than one in like millions. Having two kids that are trans is statistically impossible.
It is not possible.
Look at the fact that it's the mothers.
It is not possible because that's what doctors tend to do now. They think they're in the wrong body. Boom, here's a puberty blocker.
The medical industry is one of those, like the military industrial complex, that literally they're trying to create lifelong patients. The moment you fuck with your hormones, that's it. You have to forever be monitoring them and running your body like a chemist.
Well, we're going into dangerous territories, but it's like with COVID, ask me what was the biggest profiteer due to COVID?
Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And governments. Governments got to take more rights.
Oh, yeah. They're like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, And the reason why, again, we kind of touched this, but the reason why I went from Biden, the reason I even voted for Biden in the first place was because the media did such a good job bullshitting me, fear-mongering me. And again, I knew going into it that the media lies, and again, just because of my alignment with the community and things like that, I was blind. And then after 4 years of Biden, they're just like, oh, things have never been better. I'm like, really?
Do you think he's going to run? Do you think he's going to be replaced last minute?
I mean, they're already going to lose as it is. If they attempt to replace them, it's going to make it worse.
But how is he going to speak? I mean, have you seen his videos?
Here's the thing. The Democrats have fucked up so bad, they're going to have to rely on the Civil War. So we got 20 million illegal men in this country now, and they're given amnesty, which are voting rights to them. In New York, they said that it's legal for them to carry firearms. So there's more illegal men in this country now than we have people enlisted in the military. We only have about 15 million people in the military enlisted active duty. So if you want to ask my opinion, they are planning something big because they've already lost. We've all woken up. And this is why they did COVID too. There was protests around the world right before COVID. The biggest factor was the Hong Kong protests were spilling into mainland China, and they couldn't afford another Tiananmen Square. Not with all those phones. It's one thing when in the 1980s when they lied to the world and said they only killed 3,000 students, and then it came out right before COVID that it was over 30,000 students. Can you imagine if they had to kill 500,000 students this time just to maintain control of their communist government with everybody's cell phones? You don't think the entire world would have sanctioned China? So what did they do? It's an invisible enemy. Literally the protests were in Spain, they were in France, they were in London, they were in all South America. It was coming out here. We were starting to hear in the United States that the cartels in Mexico were the good guys. Though, yeah, they had to get their money with drugs, but they were taking that money and they were actually taking care of the communities.
Have you read a letter that Bin Laden wrote to the government? Have you ever read that letter? I have not read it yet.
That was another thing too. I'm not a Bin Laden supporter. I'm not a terrorist supporter or anything like that. Again, I'm a constitutionalist, and I know that the Forefathers warned us about a two-party system. And I can see from the same people being in government for decades that they don't have our interest at heart. Even like the way they did civil rights movement weakened the Black community. Whether you want to admit it or not, Black people actually had much better chance of gaining wealth and land and everything like that before the segregation and civil rights movement happened. Could we have made some more common sense amendments? Yeah, but the way they did it, and then the way they started getting Black people to rely on the government more and more and more, and then how they started, breaking apart the Black family and attacking the Black family and making it cool to be single and making women want to get abortions. And then the reason why they went after and started incarcerating Black men so much wasn't really because of racism. It was just because they knew if they took the father from the home, then the kids are more likely
I've heard
to
that theory.
the system, or the mother's going to rely on the government for help. And even women's voting rights, like I said, do women really have it so much better now? You think they enjoy working 80 hours a week and can barely afford to survive? I'm pretty sure they liked it better when their husband worked 40 hours a week and on that job could feed her, could feed the kids. They had a house, they had a car, they go on vacation twice a fucking year. And you actually had confidence that retirement was going to happen. So, look at the big picture. Everyone wants to think small, right? Oh, I'm independent.
The boss babes.
No man worth anything wants you. Man, real men aren't going to put up with the fucking mouth.
And the body count counts a lot.
It is, yeah. And again, with that too, and and again, women are just as capable at any point they want in their lives to work on themselves too. So just like men can be lost, and that's not good when men are lost. Women are more inclined to be the emotional mess that they are, but any woman can, once they see that, it has just as much capability of reining that in and understanding, okay, do I actually want a man in my life? If that's what I want, okay, well, guess what? It's not in a woman's best interest to try to rule over a man. That is not the natural law of order. Never has been, never fucking will be. You know, and again, here's you know, let's say we had a society that was led completely by women and they weakened all the fucking men, and then just another society comes along with just fucking brute hard men, kill all the fucking weak men. Who's left to protect the women? One capable man can take out a full room of even capable women. We've seen it with fucking the Olympic soccer team losing to high school bullies. I've seen one man take on a full team of semi-professional soccer women. One fucking man. Demolish them. In Romania right now, they got like 2-on-1 men versus women kickboxing. It's embarrassing.
I don't know what's going on anymore. The world's going a bit nuts at the moment.
But, you know, it's pushing everybody. Look, the powers that be need men to be weak so they can stay in power. Because strong men don't allow weak men to continue to do evil things. What it boils down to right now, we have a bunch of evil motherfuckers. And here's the thing. It all goes back to fear. They are afraid. They are very, very afraid. I mean, I'd be afraid too if I'd been committing all these atrocities for generations and generations. I don't want me and my family to ever have to face accountability for that, because, you know, I think, okay, just to jump off subject real quick here, the thing that is needed in this world right now, and it might seem like a radical idea, but forgiveness is needed. We all need to forgive each other, and we all might need to actually swallow a pill and find a way to forgive these motherfuckers and give them a chance to defect onto our side.
And how do you forgive them, though? How do you forgive them?
You give them immunity to their crimes. So, you know, again, okay, so let's take Putin, for example, has the capability of nuclear arms, right? If we back him into a corner, do you think he won't use his nuclear arsenal before he dies?
He's going to attack you.
Putin's the smartest world leader in the world. Putin is the smartest besides like a communist party, but like somebody who actually runs this country, he is the smartest world leader in modern history.
He knows what he's doing. Definitely. He's
military trained. He's a military mastermind.
KGB, yeah.
And he thinks ahead. He can think 20 years ahead. He can think, as he's talking to you, he can think 10 steps ahead, right? So just like that, if we have a bunch of evil people who hold all the decisions that can be made at any given time, and we back them into a corner, everyone's like, we want you dead, we want you dead. Dude, just like a cheater, just like a murderer, they will burn the house to the ground in attempts to try to not go to jail or not be punished. It's in human nature. So unless we find a way or a vehicle to give these people a way to come back to their goodness, to be forgiven. And that's another reason why I found God. Even before I found God, at 23, I had this like radical thought when I started smoking weed, and I started thinking about like Jesus and stuff like that. And I got into like, everything sound and frequencies. One of the thoughts I had, I was like, oh my God, this world will never, ever be whole unless we can learn how to forgive each other.
Yeah.
And like at the end of it might sound like the stupidest thing in the world, but you talk to anybody else who understands that train of thought, and if we do not find a way to forgive each other for being human and being pieces of shit, bro, it only gets worse.
That's the Buddhist side of you.
I say I'm not religious. I'm thinking logically here.
It's a good philosophy.
I look at human behavior, and human behavior has never changed. Humans are creatures of habit. True. And just literally, if these people believe that they're in such a small class and group, and they're going to continue going into that group and only letting in people that won't fuck them. That's why all the elites have so much blackmail on each other. Because when you try to come back to us to help us, they'll be like, oh, You want to defect? Well, look, here's what we have on you. Killing this or fucking this child. Again, legitimately, we're gonna have to sit back and think: do we want this world to be burned in a nuclear war, or do we want to accept the fact that we're going to have to sit back and forgive some truly evil motherfuckers?
I don't know. The world that we live in, I think everyone's scared, everyone's divided, everyone's not hopeful, everyone's sad about the future.
It's on purpose.
Yeah, whether it is or not. I think we're all kind of demotivated with the world at the moment.
It's on purpose. I say, even as I'm talking and my voice is rising and stuff like that.
That's passion.
I've been doing work for the past 8 months, and I'm not sad right now. I'm not angry right now. I have peace in my mind. So at this point in my life, as we're talking about like going forward with projects and stuff, I haven't been able to bring myself to produce any nude content in a few months. I can't even take a nude photo. My gut just won't let me do it. I quit weed completely. I was never a drinker anyway, because I'm not even drinking socially. And I'm even abstaining from sex.
Okay.
I don't have the sex is the hardest part, just because of, I think so long of being in the sex world. And that was probably ingrained in me the most. And at one point I asked myself, am I a sex addict? That was a question I had for myself, right? I asked it out loud and I was like, okay.
It's very common.
But I wouldn't consider myself a sex addict. It's just that when you're like me, you can almost fuck anybody you want. And I don't say that like I think I'm king shit. But compared to the normal male, I had my pick more than most. And I'm just not the kind of guy that likes to approach anybody like that anyway, because I don't want anybody to feel objectified. I've never asked anybody their sexuality in my life.
Yeah.
I can sense if someone that I'm attracted to is attracted to me or not. And if they're not, then not my business.
So would you say would you want to be a born-again Christian? Because that's what it sounds like.
No, again, I don't believe if Christ existed, I don't believe Christ believed in religion. I believe God is such a thing, and there are principles to live by that guide us. I don't call that religion. The idea of Christ, or maybe there's something, there's knowledge that he came upon that is a way for us to connect to God. I think there's something to baptisms. I think there's something of cleansing your soul to it, or it allows your soul to be open to God. That's the only thing I could think of as a child that was done to me. Because I was because of how horrible my childhood was, you couldn't convince me that God existed. But my grandparents had put me in at one point to a Catholic school, and I was baptized. And so I don't know, like I said, this gut instinct of mine, it comes from somewhere. And the only thing I could think of that was connected to me, and like I said, I've been doing research. I've been trying to find like original thought. I've been trying to find original knowledge. It's probably all in the fucking Vatican. You know what I mean? Like I'll never get my hands on real accountings, unedited truths, uncensored truths. So it's really hard for me, because man is so fallible when he is given power. And one of the original Bibles warned us against power in high places. And what that means is, beware of your rulers, beware of kings. They only serve themselves. And whatever they tell you is really only to get you to not attack them. And I still think religion was created so men feared their ruler, because back in the day when we lived in caves, if I didn't like the leader, I just wait till you fall asleep and smash your head with a rock. Now I'm the ruler. What's going to stop me? Fear of God. Yeah. So I believe God is all inside of us, and I believe he's always there when you go to ask for him. But you have to ask. You have to accept that, yes, there is something more to this. And yes, these this guiding light that I know I have inside of me, whether I choose to act upon it or not. And again, we create all these levels of fear that make us not act upon our best instinct. We ignore what we know is right because we don't want to be on the outside. Mm-hmm. Don't want our money to be gone. You know, it's all these things that our society has created to keep you in line and going with the agenda. So that's why I came back to, this is why I say I'm not a fan of Trump, but I know he needs our country to do the best that it can because he's a narcissistic piece of shit. But that means that America has to do so good that it makes his legacy. And again, what's much more dangerous to me is the thing that's the establishment that's taken hundreds of years to get us to this point than one man. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And if we can ever tackle this establishment and get actual true people in positions where they should be and are qualified for, that actually serve the American people and don't use government as a means of their own vehicle for their own prosperity. And until we get to that point, I am for anybody that's not a politician. If I see the system going after someone, I'm like, okay, well, obviously there's something about them that the system doesn't like.
Like Andrew Tate.
Huh?
Like Andrew Tate.
Yeah, Andrew, Andrew's, there's certain things I agree with him upon. And, to me, I'm just the type of person, if I had his influence and money, I would be a lot more directly involved with trying to help fight what's going on. I know he does a lot of donations and everything like, and honestly,
and he probably doesn't tell you. And he probably doesn't tell you if you donate.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah,
I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he is a little full of himself in some terms. Like what I said to him was like, if I was in your position, I wouldn't be worried about being called top G. I would be worried about like finding out like who's running for office that I can help get into the right position. I'd be using my platform to like speak out against that, raise that opinion, blah, 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 blah. And one thing I said, and this is why good men are so important, or your support cast is so important. Andrew Tate would be nothing without Tristan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His brother. Mm-hmm. If he didn't have his brother, someone would have killed him a long time ago, or beat him so fucking badly. It's so hard to find your tribe. And that's what a lot of men are always searching for. But look, the lone wolf is always going to get killed. The alpha wolf leads a pack. Like, I'm so envious of the brother that he has. If it's the last thing I have left in me, the demon that I need to fight out of me is having envy. But I see it for what it is. And even they talk about it when they went to jail together, mm-hmm. when they're out anywhere, and anybody even gives him shit. Tristan is the first one to stand up for his brother. And that's what men need to be. That's why, I've been talking lately, like, we need to get back to those 1960 gays who, where men just acted like men. Men are required to be men, and you can be so fucking blessed that you are a man. And that comes with responsibility. Whether it feels heavy or not, dude, you are a man. You have control. You have full control of your destiny. As a man, if you make sure you're capable and you surround yourself with a good man, mm-hmm. any point in time a bad man comes into the group, those group of men will take care of that bad man.
Jaxton or Christopher, let's end this on an even nicer and higher note, which is, at the end of each episode, I tend to talk about something completely different from these.
Yeah.
So, should we talk about food? What's your favorite dish? Do you have a favorite meal?
It used to be sushi.
Okay, all right, sushi. What about now?
Now the only thing I eat is steak, fruit, and honey.
Steak, fruit, and honey. Okay,
that's it.
That's a combination I'd never thought I'd heard. Okay.
Yeah, just because of, again, going back to how fucked up the world is and these companies and all the bullshit they're putting in food and everything.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing I can trust in this country. because monosato is literally trying to kill us. I noticed when I was eating a lot of like fruit or vegetables and grains and beans and stuff like that, I was starting to get eczema on my skin.
Okay.
And like flakes on my head and stuff. Cut that out of my diet. Literally all that shit went away.
You should grow your own food.
You're right on that. You're right on. I don't disagree. I think yes, and that's another thing Americans need to get back to is being a community of farmers. And I was about ready to sue the state of Florida. We're a big watermelon state, and the only thing I've seen in the normal grocery stores for the past like 6+ months is seedless watermelon.
Seedless.
So anything that's genetically modified is not meant for human consumption. So, but fruit is superior hydration as well. So if you get your water from your fruit, it hydrates you faster, it keeps you hydrated longer, and it's just a different. We can go all into like how it absorbs the energy from the sun, and it's live energy, not dead energy. But like watermelon is one of the best hydrators on earth if it's real watermelon. And the seeds in it, you blend them up, you drink them too. For men, it's loaded with niacin, and the seeds kind of act as like a natural Viagra. I shit you not.
You learn something every day. Do you dine out? Do you go out and dine out, or would you rather stay home?
I try not to. Again, because of all the ingredients and bullshit they put in food.
I thought you'd say that.
It's just not worth it to me. Yeah. Now, when I'm in other countries like Europe and stuff, I can eat bread in Europe and lose weight. Because half the shit here is banned in other countries. I can eat Burger King in London, and I know that it legally has to be real meat.
Yeah.
Isn't that a fucking thing to say?
We still call it processed meat. It's still meat.
But it still legally has to be 100% meat. You know what I mean? It can't be... Yeah, and it has to be like from the animal. You know, in the United States, there's like, you're allowed to have some human meat in there.
Yeah. Do you drink?
Like I said, I used to maybe socially drink, but like from where I am right now, I'm as square as it gets right now.
As in, are you sober, or are you just not drinking, or?
I don't drink. Yeah, I'm not drinking.
Just
period.
Don't drink.
So like I used to. So like I like to go do karaoke and shit like that. So maybe if I go to karaoke, I might have to drink.
You have to drink.
But I don't. But there's never been a time in my life where I'm drinking every day. But now, like it's out. Period. It's not even like not allowed.
Let's just talk about one thing and then we wrap this up. So what about, you have a band, right? Or you're in a band, or used to be in a band?
I have a band that I'm working out right now to get when you form new members, everybody has to learn the material. We have to rehearse.
Nice.
We have to, we had 5 songs that we agreed on, so we had to come up with another 2. So that's also a process to develop the songs, songwrite to the songs. And then unfortunately with this economy right now, you have because if you remember before the 2008 crash, how many people lost their jobs? And right now I'm seeing so many people lose their jobs right now, and the tens of thousands. So we've had to deal with our first member that we lost, he just found out he was having a baby, so he wanted to turn his focus to making sure that he was going to be okay, and that's it. Like, I'm never going to get angry at that, or even have, you know what I mean? And then our most recent drummer just lost his job, so he has to find a new job right now. He can't focus on rehearsals. So it's me and 2 guitarists, and we're searching for a drummer right now and a bassist. But the band is called Ashes, ASHIS. It's a new metal project. We're out of Central Florida. There's a lot of people that are excited for it once we get everything together and we get on stage. This is something I've been training for about 15 years now. Yeah. I know a lot of good people in the music industry. I've been to the festivals. Like, a lot of people know of me. And I had like 4 songs produced last year in the country of Colombia. Metal songs. but I need to re-record them with all real instruments and stuff like that. So it's, you know, it's a learning process.
It's a learning process, yeah. And obviously, I wish you all the best with your band, and honestly, good luck. It's a dark world out there, but I know you're going to thrive it. And honestly, thank you so much for doing this episode. It's been really interesting.
Thank you for having me on. It's always nice to chat with someone and discuss these things. So, you know, I'm not here to tell you you're right or wrong. You know, anybody can always ask questions.
Yeah.
I tend to only live my life in a way that I think is purposeful and from information and life experience. So, you know, I won't say you're right or wrong, but I would encourage you to be open to the things that I might say, just because I've never really have told people stuff that hasn't proven to be true, and for them to come back 10 years later and be like, fuck, I would have wished I would have listened to you.
And I think the key out of this is dialogue, is communicating. I mean, I've said this before, we've been very divisive, and we're not moving the needle forward unless we talk, unless we stop cancelling one another and we just move forward. Otherwise, I don't see any point, in my opinion.
And again, we're really struggling with a lot of misinformation that are coming from the people that we should be able to trust.
Yeah.
You know, the people that call themselves scientists, the people that call themselves medical facilities and psychologists, and literally, unfortunately, right now, it's all being corrupted, and it makes it really hard for people who haven't woken up on their journey yet to understand that that's being done to them, to hear people like us and not dismiss it. Mm-hmm. And again, I grew up in the 90s. I knew big government was bad. I knew Big Brother was bad. We knew mass conformity was bad. And yet we felt like in the 90s, there was never a better time where we all got along.
I miss
the 90s. Because we knew who the enemy was. And we knew it wasn't each other. And we knew that anything that was trying to be done to each other was trying to be done from the top, pushing us toward each other, so we didn't look up top.
But hopefully it's never too late. I mean, you're hopeful. I think you're more hopeful than I am. But again, time will tell. Time will prove me wrong.
It's going to do what it's going to do. But like I said, the most important thing is that men wake up.
Yeah. On that note, no, I was just going to say, on that note, honestly, this is, I hope things change for the better, and I'm sure it will, but I don't see it anytime soon. But I hope you're right.
Like I said, as soon as men wake up, doesn't matter if you're gay, bi, even if you're thinking about being trans, if you are a man, just realize, like, this world needs you to be a man right now. And it's not about how you act. It's about accepting the responsibility you have to those around you, and just knowing that as a man, you are the most capable thing on this earth right now to help people.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode. Christopher, it's been a pleasure.
Miguel, thank you so much.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.